everyone, welcome back to another Jazz Drum Q-Tip of the week. My name is Quincy Davis. Thank you so much for tuning in to this really important lesson about practicing. So at the end of all my videos for the last 4 to 5 years, if you've gotten to that point in my videos, then you'll know that I always say practice hard, but practice smart. 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 Practice hard. And then it occurred to me, I've never done a video about practicing and talking about exactly what I'm talking about when I say practice smart. So I want to break that down. This is part of my fascination for the learning process in sports, learning languages, and of course, learning music. And in fact, I wrote a book about it. Yes, I wrote a book, and I call it The Ultimate Practice Guide. And in it, I break down some of the most effective tools that we as musicians, not just drummers, can apply to our practicing and overall learning process. These are tools that I've learned from watching interviews, giving interviews, watching so many YouTube videos, and also reading several books on the subject of practicing, and the psychology of the learning process. The Ultimate Practice Guide is now available to you, and I'm actually including it in my new drum course, Mastering the Swing Feel, for free. So you'll get the Ultimate Practice Guide with the new drum course that's coming out in 1 week. So check all that stuff out in the description box down below. But in this lesson, I'm going to break down 3 of my favorite tools from the book that I know will transform your practicing and your performing. So if you guys are ready, if you're really ready, then you need to let me know by saying what? By saying what? Let's go! Yeah! All right, so tool number 1 that's really transformed my practicing is starting with the difficult task first. Oftentimes we get to the practice room and we go straight to the sections of the solo or the song or whatever we're learning. We go straight to the parts that we play well. But instead of doing that, start with the sections that you don't play well and that give you the most trouble. Performer and educator Gerald Klickstein talks about in his book, great book, The Musician's Way. You should definitely check that out. He talks about how our attention and our focus is at its highest at the beginning of our practice session. So why not use our best brains on our biggest problems, right? Makes sense. Go straight to the sections that kick your butt, and you're going to have your best brain to work on it. So at the beginning, don't practice the whole tune. Practice bars 37 to 42 because those are the hardest. And then you try to go back to the beginning. And when you go back to that section, it will be so much easier. Trust me. Tool number 2, this one's really changed my practicing and my learning process. Dr. Gabrielle Wolf, a sports psychologist, talks about how switching tasks force retrieval, which creates strong long-term learning, right? Strong long-term learning is exactly what we want. We don't want to just learn it for the moment and then tomorrow we forget it. So when you mix your tasks, it actually ingrains it or puts it a little deeper in our brains to remember for long term. So an example of this is you could work on, let's say, a transcription, right? Or a song for 25 minutes. And then maybe you work for 10 minutes on technique. And then maybe another 10 minutes on your feel or your time, right? And then you go back to that transcription and you kind of rotate that. And this kind of learning and this kind of practicing really helps your brain kind of it forces it to retrieve it. And again, it reinforces long-term learning. This kind of practicing keeps your brain engaged and better prepares you for real performance. And tool number 3, another game changer for my practicing and learning process, is space your practice. Author, performer, educator Molly Gebrion talks about in her book, Learn Faster, Perform Better, another really great book, game changer for me. She talks about in that book how our brain continues to learn after we stop playing. That's deep, right? So a lot of times we think that we have to play it so many times, and that's when the learning is happening. Our brain is actually learning long after we stop playing. Allow your brain some time to rest and process what you've been working on. Short and focused practice sessions beat long marathon sessions any day of the week. The goal is not endurance, but it's clarity. Clarity. This is especially true for those of you who have all the time in the world to practice and you feel like you have to stay in the practice room for 5 and 6 hours to really get anything done. You really don't. I'm not saying don't do that, but what's more important is that you're focused over a shorter period of time and you're giving yourself rests throughout your sessions so that your brain can process what you've been working on. So that is today's lesson about practicing 3 really effective practice tools, and I list and talk about and break down a bunch more in my new book, The Ultimate Practice Guide. You should definitely check that out. And of course, I would love for you to check out my new drum course coming out next week in a week, Mastering the Swing Feel. The information for that will be down below. Again, if you get that, then you get the Ultimate Practice Guide for free. And I know it will be a game changer for many of you, just like it has been for me. So thank you for watching. And again, I want to end this lesson in this video with one of my favorite phrases, but now you'll have an idea of exactly what it means to practice hard, but practice smart. All right, take care. See you next time. Bye-bye. Peace. I've been asked by many drummers if I had a jazz drumming course that brings together the core concepts, lessons, and ideas I've shared over the years into one single course. Something that helps them develop the fundamentals of jazz drumming and, more specifically, build the kind of swing feel that makes the great jazz drummers sound so good. Well, it's finally here. Mastering the Swing Feel. Despite the title, I definitely wouldn't consider myself a master, but I feel incredibly fortunate to have studied with and played with some of the masters of this music, along with spending thousands of hours listening to the recordings. So I'm sharing some of what I've learned in this course. This course isn't about covering everything there is to know about jazz drumming. It's about building a strong foundation of swing. Mastering the swing feel brings everything together into one clear path. We'll explore ride cymbal feel and sound, hi-hat technique, internal pulse, touch and tone, tempos from ballads to up-tempo, traditional and modern comping, useful brush techniques, playing with a bass player. We'll also cover my 6-step tune routine, a practical system for learning and internalizing standards. Every lesson builds on the one before. No random tips, no information overload, no guessing. Whether you choose the complete program or focus on the modules most relevant to your playing, you'll come away with a stronger foundation of swing, a deeper understanding of time and groove, and a clearer path forward as a jazz drummer. This course is for drummers of all levels and can be completed at your own pace. So if you're ready, let's get to work and let's go.